And here's the last thing that I kind of wanted to watch. I don't know if I'm going to watch the whole thing because this shit might get kind of annoying. But I did figure that it might be kind of fun to look at this and just kind of see. I've wanted to get my, I guess, like my political commentary side kind of out of here. I've been itching to do something with that, however small, but like I've been wanting to do, sorry, I had to burp there. I've been wanting to do something relatively political for a little while now, and I just have never really gotten to it, but I'm super about it, and now I feel like it might be time to make fun of some stupid people.
Everybody gets to live the same
Tell
way
me
as
what
you.
rights we don't have, what laws that we don't have.
Girl, I'm gonna send you.
No, I want to know. I want to know.
Say it now.
No,
if you're gonna sit here and tell us that we're missing.
We are approaching the 150th episode of Middle Ground.
Okay. All right.
The LGBTQIA plus community has moved too far to the left.
Oof, girl. How many letters are there? How many? 100?
So funny.
It's difficult because, I think what was once like a very loving and accepted community has pushed so far to the left that, we're seeing this massive pendulum swing that is coming back the other direction that is going to put our entire community, unfortunately, in danger because...
It already has.
It already has, because it has gone so far to the left rather than being a good common sense middle ground that now people who did not used to carry a prejudice against us or have an issue with our community are suddenly finding themselves to have prejudice against the LGBTQ community.
We have prejudice against ourselves.
That's true. Even I'm developing a prejudice.
Yeah, like I
at this
can't
point.
stand lesbians now. Like there are people here, and I won't call it individuals, but there are people here that I was friends with, that I literally went on vacations with, that have unfriended me, unfollowed me, just...
Real quick, touching on what she just said. Having a prejudice... Okay, there's two groups here, right? I wouldn't consider... I think I fall a little bit further on the liberal side than the conservative side. I don't think that's a massive secret. But, like, there's very, very clearly one group, right, who is talking about having a prejudice one way or another, and there's another group that's talking about inclusivity. There might be one group that's a little bit better as far as moral justification goes, right? Like, what the fuck?
For simply standing up for young lesbians and gay men who are calling themselves all these other genders, or because I'm not for children transitioning, or just because I voted for Trump, and it's a shame because we don't want to be a hive mind, right? We are, like, the whole point of being, one of the points of us being lesbians is that we're different. We have different outlooks on life. We have different talents.
I feel like with a lot of marginalized groups, the biggest downfalls to them is simply when usually outside groups create division, a left and a right. The left doesn't accept the right doesn't accept the left, and then that divides all of us. Instead of being one powerful group, it just crumbles. We're divided.
I think it's unfortunate that sexuality is tied to a political outlook to begin with. That is no longer like, oh, Republicans don't want gay people to exist. Like, that's not a thing anymore, and I think it's so unfortunate.
That's so untrue. That is so untrue. Because there are so many people who are like, there are so many just like radical conservatives who are just like, my son ain't ever gonna be gay. Gay son? Me? I ain't ever have a gay son. And it's like, dude, you don't get to control that. Your son's gay. Fucking womp womp. Deal with it. It's not even a bad thing, right? Like, the fuck do you want?
How politicized our entire community has become.
I think it's important to note that we're here calling ourselves conservative lesbians, but we're really, like, some of us aren't really conservatives. We're just non-leftists. Mm-hmm. And we haven't really moved. Like, people call me a grifter, whatever they want to call me. I haven't moved over the years. I've been stagnant. Like, I am set in my morals. I'm in my mid-30s. Like, I know where I'm at. And people, mainly the LGBT, whatever community, moved further and further left. I stayed where I was, and somehow I was the one that was ostracized.
I don't think the LGBTQ community moved further left. I think that there was one group who was saying, hey, let's not let them marry each other and, like, not give them rights and, the basic human things that we now to this day still have to fight for sometimes. And then there's another group who's like, hey, let's give these people these things. It's not about them moving, right? It's more just like, why are we outright restricting certain rights to people. And like that over time has obviously changed. But like still to this day, there is one group who is pushing anti-LGBTQ, anti-gender affirmative care laws in America. Again, I'm not speaking for anything other than America, but like there's one side, the conservative side, the conservative Republican side, that generally speaking is always pushing for anti-LGBTQ, like again, whether it's specifically, not even specifically gay rights or lesbian rights, it's like I said, gender affirmative care, right? Like that shit is being, those rights are being, people are trying to step on those as often as possible. And it's like, fucking just let people live.
Well, that's because what used to be moderate is now considered conservative. And what used to be your general liberal, which I think a lot of us at one point probably aligned ourselves with, is no longer that. It is so far past that, which, you know, I had to draw a hard line. I'm not with this anymore.
We all can have different beliefs. You can be this race and still think this way, or be this be gay and think this way. So it's just really sad to see. And I feel like, you know, our community has been used so much to push other things. Like 100%. We're being used as a shield. So everyone...
Queers for Palestine? Really? Really? Go to Palestine as a queer person. See what happens.
The fuck is your point there? I want to get into that shit. What do you mean? There are still people being subjugated to like hundreds of years of just like brutalities. And you're saying that we're just going, you know, just because, yeah, okay, you're right. That area of the world hasn't figured out their rights around LGBTQ, whatever. You're right. They haven't. The average age in Gaza is 18, I'm pretty sure. They got other shit they're dealing with. I hate to be that way, but like number one priority is like becoming an adult. Like becoming old enough to turn into an adult is kind of their top priority, you know? Like living is kind of their biggest like thing that they have to worry about right now, not getting fucking bombed. Like shut the fuck up. You're stupid as hell. You know it. The dumbest thing I've ever heard in my fucking life.
Somebody's gonna have to sit next to me.
Conservatism itself means that you like the things that are going now, and that traditionally it's going good for you, for us. I personally disagree with that because of the things that I have been through. The discrimination from everyone doesn't matter. Things that I have been through. The discrimination from everyone doesn't matter whether they're left or right or, you know, not part of the community, is not working for us. It's not working for me, at least.
Can I ask you a question? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, for sure.
You know how people on the left have redefined the word woman?
What do you mean by that?
What do you mean?
A lot of people that identify on the far left, LGBT or not, have redefined the word woman to mean basically anything.
Yeah, I'm non-binary. I use they, them pronouns.
So there you go. Okay, so you have changed the meaning or the whatever, right? Conservatism is just the opposite of leftism at this point, as far as I'm concerned. So I just want to make sure that is
what are you
known.
saying the opposite of leftism?
What are you trying to say?
The new age conservatives are really old age libertarians or like moderates or just classic liberals for the most part. So I just to make sure like we're on the same page a little bit. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So what I'm saying is...
Yeah, there was a fucking party swap. What does it matter? What point are you trying to make there? Regardless, you have a different opinion on a subject. Talk about that. What the fuck are you... what point are you trying to make? You're making a non-point. Oh, yeah, we used to be left. Yeah, you used to be left because those ideas. The whole point of being liberal versus conservative, the definition of liberalism, right? The definition or the idea of liberalism, as far as I know it to be, is kind of in a way moving forward with ideas and like stuff like that, right? Conservatism is trying to keep everything like where it should be. No shit, your old liberals are now conservatives. That's how that shit works. Why do you think younger people are more often liberal than conservative? Why do you think older people are conservative? It's because as newer ideas turn into older ideas, you shift from liberal to conservative. Like that's how that shit works. I just don't, right? Like maybe I'm crazy. I should have stated this before I started ranting about any of this shit, but like I don't know shit about dick, right? I don't fucking know what I'm talking about. So whenever I do talk about something, if I'm wrong, fucking get on me about it, please. But yeah, just I'm not somebody who's smart enough or knows enough for my opinion to be definitive. But what I'm trying to say is, what the fuck is your point regardless, right? Why are you going out of your way to say that you used to be left until you know, move? That's fine, right? It's okay that you've done that. I don't give a shit. But what importance does it have in the conversation that you are trying to have right now?
That because we are growing, if you want to include more people, because technically the lesbian flag has changed to an orange stripe for non-men such as myself. I still identify as a lesbian. I'm still here.
Can I ask you how you identify as a lesbian when you're not a woman?
Because I'm a non-man. Because
that's a terrible definition in my opinion, but that's fine. You're allowed to believe what you believe, because I believe in freedom of speech. But
so I believe in including everyone. It doesn't matter what other people go by.
Yes. Oh my God. Fucking destroy her. Let her know. That's what it really is. We're all fucking people. Why can't I do what the fuck I want? If I want you to, like, I don't know, again, if I want they, them pronouns or he, him or she, her or whatever, you know, whatever else I want, let me be identified that way. If I changed my name from Gavin to Jacob and I was like, hey, I want everybody to call me Jacob now, you're an asshole if you decide to not call me Jacob. So why is this different? It isn't. It fucking isn't. That's the thing.
I think that being left and having this conversation go to left means that we don't care anymore. Everyone can be a part of the community, no matter who you are. Labels don't matter as much as, you know, they did back then, because it was only the LGB. When we're moving towards the left, we're moving towards the, you know, the future, including more people.
Sometimes gatekeeping is a good thing, though. Yeah. And sometimes segregation is a good thing.
Why?
Bitch literally just said sometimes segregation is a good thing. Are you fucking insane? That's some crazy shit.
Well,
why?
Well, how? Okay, so
no,
you're saying
I'm talking a lot, guys.
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
You guys are opening, accepting more,
Absolutely.
everything like that. So where's the line then?
Does there have to be a line?
Why have a community if everybody's in the community?
If you self-identify in the community, then we're all there for each other.
Right. I'm not somebody who identifies as being in the community. I mean, I'm excessively supportive, right? As far as LGBTQ anything goes, right? LGBTQIA plus. Again, I'm supportive of all of it, even if I don't understand all of it or know what it means. That's not necessarily what I need to do, right? Like, it doesn't matter. Let's include people who think that they're part of this group, right? If somebody, what do you mean, where's the community? The community is the group of people who think that who are aligned with that group, right? I'm not somebody who is part of that. I'm not part of the LGBTQ community. I'm allowed to be if I want to, tomorrow I can say, hey, like, you know, like, let's do that. And then I'm part of it. I could say, hey, again, maybe I am bi tomorrow, or maybe I'm gay, or I want to now be maybe I'm non-binary, or I want to, you know, like, I want to transition. I can now do that. Why not allow these options for people? Why not have a community of people who have somewhat similar experiences, even if I haven't specifically done certain things? God, just fucking stupid people. Why does there have to be a line, right? If you want to be a part of the community, then why does it matter? Holy shit. I live in my grandparents' house. My grandparents have a Roomba, and the fucking Roomba hit my door and it scared the shit out of me. I'm the only person in the house right now. That shit scared me so fucking bad.
If you're straight and you identify as straight, you are not part of the community. I do not identify as straight. I identify as a non-binary lesbian.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Because the lesbian community has accepted me, because I don't feel comfortable in my gender identity, because growing up I didn't feel, you know, accepted in the lesbian community. So now that we're moving left and we're accepting more people into it, I'm finally accepted in the community. People, you know, actually do accept non-binary lesbians.
And that's fucking awesome, right? Why does it matter, right? I mean, at the end of the day, yes, we are making these labels for people, but like, realistically speaking, at least the way that I see it, all of this is just a means to an end of people just being people, right? Like, I'm all for people being people and doing whatever the fuck they want, right? I mean, ultimately speaking, right, like, you can do whatever you want. There's going to be consequences for like certain actions, such as like, you know, murder, right? That, you know, I don't want people doing that, but like, at the end of the day, why the fuck are we adding restrictions ever whenever it comes to progressing, making people happy? Why are we ever outright going to say, hey, I really don't like that these people that I'm not a part of and I don't have to be affiliated with are making their lives a little better? And you know what? That makes me angry. Like, that's what the stupid ass Republican, like hardcore Republican, like thought process is on this shit. It's like, you're fucking stupid. Get over yourself. Let people do their own shit, right?
You don't identify as a woman, and
So
a lesbian
frustrating.
is a woman who loves another woman. Then why would you not identify as queer? And yes, we're going to labels here, but like genuine curiosity, I'm trying to understand,
But what does it
because if a lesbian
Why
is
does it
no
matter?
longer a woman who's sexually attracted to another woman, then a lesbian can be
Anybody.
A man.
Which is
A
literally
man.
what's happening
Yes.
in the world
That's
right now.
the problem.
Like
There
straight
has
up
to
dudes
be-
that are not trans women, straight up dudes going on lesbian dating apps and calling us transphobic and
I think there's a bit of a gray area there. If sorry to interrupt, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm under the impression that with non-binary lesbians, there's a bit of a gray area because you can often have a very similar experience than a woman who is a lesbian being non-binary, because if you
because we're all female. You could
well,
say
if
it,
you're
it's okay.
if you're assigned female
Shut the fuck up. I hate this lady.
at birth and you date women and you before you knew you were non-binary, you were all would imagine you were often in lesbian spaces and that's what you identified with. So why should you be excluded from that community just because now you know you are non-binary, for example?
I think, like, colloquially speaking, like, now we define lesbian as being, like, non-men, loving non-men.
I think there's a very small subset of people that define it that way.
I just think,
Yeah.
I mean, like, people that
I'm just
I
being
know.
honest.
Oh, yeah, that's
No,
totally
just
fine.
different
It's like
circles,
people who have,
different
yeah, absolutely. But I think also, like, language is always conformed around people and communities. Like, being trans and being non-binary is not a new thing. This has existed in, like, pre-modern society. It's not new.
100%. Why the fuck are you trying? God. Ugh, this is what's so like frustrating about this conversation, right? Is I mean, again, I'll always stand on the point of people can do shit. Let people do things, right? But like, you know, again, shit changes. Like, that's just how this works, right?
Language is always conformed around people. Like, we don't make things up and then people start identifying as them. Like, we conform language to fit identity. And, like, it's always been that way.
Although I do think people make up words and say that.
That's also true.
I'm sorry.
No,
they
that's
do.
also true. There's 100
a
genders now.
million genders that people have literally just made up. It did not
Frog,
exist.
frog, self.
What does it affect you what other people identify?
I don't
It doesn't.
care.
If
I'm
they
just saying.
self-identify.
Yeah, absolutely.
Self-identify as a potato.
I feel like a very small group has become the example.
Then quit talking about it. Like, it's not like, okay, like the fucking stupid thing is like, this isn't an issue. The thing is that extremist Republican conservatives act like it's a fucking issue. It isn't. I live in my normal life and have not, realistically speaking, I have not come across anybody who has wanted to be anything other than, I mean, I've encountered gay, lesbian, trans, bi, and, you know, queer people in my life. I don't know anybody off the top of my head that I've encountered that's asexual or intersex. I couldn't tell you any other genders that I've actually encountered in people. Like, this is a very, very small subset of people, I feel like, that you're hyper focusing on, that we're just trying to include. For, you know, like, we're, you know, again, they feel like they identify a certain way. Let them do that. Why the fuck do you have to talk about it? There's no point. Like, I don't talk about it. You bring it up all the fucking time. If they didn't, like, there isn't a problem here, is what I'm trying to say. And the fucking conservatives are making a problem.
There's a small group of left and there's a small group of right that are louder than everybody else, and then everybody else is being forgotten.
Absolutely.
I think one thing that separated us is that I think you often, and I'm not trying to just point out, but since I am the friend of yours, that I can no longer support you because you don't support me, right? If I'm explaining, right?
Okay.
Because I believe that when you use your voice, you were coming from a place of privilege without realizing that the things that you were sharing were negatively attacking me and my lifestyle. You are able to have privilege because you don't show up like I show up. You're not a woman of color. You're not masculine. So it's easy for you to say, oh yeah, this is okay, but you're not realizing that you're forgetting me and my existence and what I might need. We're under attack. LGBTQIA plus is under attack. We have 650 plus anti-LGBTQ bills attacking our existence.
Yes,
a lot
exactly.
of y'all talk about, it's mostly attacking trans kids, which we all should be pissed. If anybody's attacking our kids, we should all be pissed. But 350 plus attacking the LGB, which y'all want to just emphasize and say everybody else doesn't count. It's this, but we are all being attacked. And so for you to not see that is privilege. And I think that I just really need you to understand that.
Would you like to comment as a woman of color?
Yeah, absolutely. So what laws are affecting lesbian women of color?
In Florida right now, if there's a lesbian couple, because there's a lesbian couple that are going through this right now. Right now, if somebody calls the cops on a lesbian couple saying that they're being inappropriate, they could face jail time. Just for someone calling them and having to go through.
Children,
I don't know if that's
totally
true.
fine.
If that is, then you text me because I'll go to DeSantis
I've never
myself.
heard of that, and there's not many.
Oh, you'll go to DeSantis yourself? Shut the fuck up. I hate you.
That are affecting me as
you will.
I am an American and I have every right as everybody else does. I have nothing stopping me from getting married, owning my own home, starting my own business. Nothing.
Raising kids.
That's privilege.
How is that privilege?
But
How am
she's
I
also
privileged?
a person of color.
I'm a person of color.
I know, but you
So how
show
is
up
that
differently than I do.
How?
But you
But what-
presenting
Your mask?
masculine has no effect on that.
So since you
And being black.
I am also black. So I'm black and Hispanic. So what?
Me too.
What laws are different for you? I would like to
Okay,
know.
well, if you want to talk afterward, I got you.
Okay.
I am on the board of Lambda.
Here's the thing, because it isn't written out in paper, right? Like, yes, 100% people of color legally don't have any real differences to white people. I mean, at least to my knowledge, I should say. Again, everything is to my knowledge, everything I say. So don't, again, I'm a stupid asshole with a microphone and a camera on the internet, right? Like, this is whatever. But to my knowledge, there isn't any actual laws that are currently in state that actually make it so that way specifically, you know, again, people of color or lesbian people or whatever, any other group are specifically not allowed, other than honestly trans. I think trans people do have a lot of laws that are like outright just oppressing them, but whatever. Like, yeah, you do have the same legal rights, but that's not what the problem is. The problem isn't, I don't think that the laws like outright say gay people bad, you know, like the laws don't say that. The problem is that there are people out there who say gay people bad, and there is a cultural, like, there's a cultural phenomenon of not accepting those people. Like, why do we have a problem with those people?
Illegal. We're fighting these 650 plus anti-LGBTQ bills. I have a list for you. Also, there's so many documentaries. The thing is, I think what you want to just battle with me instead of understanding that we just live differently. Our experiences are different.
That's
so
with
all I'm
anybody,
asking
correct.
y'all to do is understand that. I'm
to
not trying to
understand.
take away from
No, absolutely
you and
not.
whatever, but being able to be in that mindset without understanding somebody else's experience is privilege, and that's what I'm trying to get y'all to understand.
If I could butt in real quick, I want to go back to what, you know, earlier you guys were saying, you know, kind of the LGB, blah, blah, blah. That's also not caring about the rest of the humans that self-identify as those people. We want to respect those people. Even if we don't agree with them, we're still going to respect them no matter what. You know, I may not agree with you guys, but I'm still going to respect you and what you self-identify as, which hopefully you will do the same to us, which is what you're saying, that the left is becoming right. That makes no sense because we're trying to advocate for the change. The right is advocating for keeping things the way they are.
Why we're running into all of these anti-LGBTQ legislation, as you put it, is because things have gone so far liberal that now we're facing this backlash from the traditional ultra-right community, which is why all of these bills are coming up, which is endangering our community as a whole.
How have things gone so far liberal? In what ways? Right? Like, I don't get it. What are Republicans upset at? You know, like, why are they mad? What about? Because it's like it's not like they're saying they're forcing your kids to be gay or something like that. Like, you don't have to be gay because we're accepting gay people. You don't have to be trans because we're now accepting trans people. What the fuck are you guys afraid of? Right? Like, why are they that way? It just doesn't even fucking make sense. It's not that it's gone too far. It's that now that we've, you know, allowed people to be people, and we've made legally most people can just do what the fuck they want now, right? Like, for the most part. There's still obviously a lot of issues, but like, for the most part, people can kind of just do whatever the fuck they want. But it's like, I don't know. It's not like it's gone too far. It would be so different if it was like, you know, again, they were forcing like a certain number of people to be gay or something like that, but that's just not what's happening. That's not what liberals want. Liberals don't want people to like, it's not like a liberal parent's going to be disappointed that their kid isn't gay, right? Like that shit doesn't happen in the real world. In the real world, what happens is that a kid turns out to be gay and their Republican parents don't accept them for it, and then they go no communication and ruin that experience and then blame it on the liberals as if it wasn't like that kid was just gay. What are you scared of?
I think that is the basis of this. We have gone too far this way, and now this side is coming back to fight us.
Ways?
I think there has been a lot of progress in the last few years, few decades, and there is definitely a backlash from the far right because of that. But I don't think the solution to that is to say, let's go back and be less progressive. I think we just need to carry on, and there will be backlash, but eventually those people will just get used to it. But I think it is a shame to be so divided, because that can't be good for the community.
That's true, and we also have to take accountability for our own community. Like, we aren't above anybody else. We need to take accountability and call out when it happens. We can't sit here and just be like, oh, poor me, our community, everyone hates us. Like, what are we doing?
Why are we bringing that
these
to
laws
ourselves?
coming up? So most of the laws that are coming up, and the reason why acceptance of us has gone down,
women and children are being targeted.
That's
it. Don't mess with the women and children.
Women and children, that's not an attack against our community. That's people defending their group of people. You come for someone's kids, there's going to be lots of laws, and I hope that there would. Sorry, you come from women's spaces, I hope those women there's going to be laws. It's not an attack on us. It's an attack on these things happening and why our acceptance is going down so much.
And I think like at any point, or at any point in history, something was once considered like too progressive, too radical, and so like in this moment, like you believe that, which is why I believe that I'm so progressive, because in this moment, like this may seem too progressive or too radical or too out there, and in 20 years from now, like maybe we'll be saying like, oh my gosh, our kids, they're so left and they're so progressive and they're so radical, and like we'll feel like they're taking that charge and like they're pushing for. And so like, but like at a time like wearing pants was so radical and like you're all wearing pants except for me, like at a time like that would have been insane, right? But like at this moment in time, like you're sitting there saying that we're being too progressive and like too radical, but like there was a point in time when what you're all doing, what you're all wearing, what you're all saying would have been too progressive or too radical.
I think the Roomba just got stuck somewhere in the house. I think I just heard it beep. But anyways, like the big thing is it's like, again, we're just moving forward with letting people be people. Why? I mean, statistically speaking, people are happier. Whenever like LGBTQ whatever, like they are happier after their transitions, and they don't like after their transitions and coming out and doing whatever, right? If it's, again, whether you're trans, queer, like gay, whatever it may be, people are happier. Why would we ever put any restrictions on people just simply being happier? Why does it matter?
Correct. I feel like comparing what somebody's wearing to transitioning kids,
harming children,
is a big
How's it
big
harming?
leap.
Hold up. Harming children? The fuck do you mean harming?
Get into that in a sec,
of course.
but the point is like, although you guys are saying, be progressive, be open to everybody, let anything happen, anything goes. It's like when kids are, that's kind of what she just said. Things are constantly changing. We're going to look back and
there has to be gatekeeping.
There has to be. There's kids being harmed right now.
How are they being harmed?
There are children committing suicide and removing body parts as minors. This is what my group does and what I do, eat, breathe, and sleep every day. And I see adult detransitioners crying, can't live their life, and on the verge of suicide because their parents took them to a clinic where they got breast removed at 12 years old. Their breast removed at 12 years old, and that is starting. People are fighting for those rights to do that. That's disgusting.
Our friend Chloe Cole was.
I agree, but that's less than what is that one? The
less than 1%. Yeah. Less than 1%. More people are less than 1% of people who get gender affirming like care and like, surgeries that alter your gender in any way. Less than 1% of them regret it afterwards. Statistically, like that is how that works. More than 30% of people who get something like a knee surgery or a hip replacement regret that surgery. More people regret getting their hip replaced than getting gender affirming care. It is fucking speaks for itself,
Transitioners are less than 1%,
matter.
right?
It doesn't matter.
I'm just
maybe the ones that are public.
I just said I agree though with the kids situation, but I'm just saying we often target a very low percentage and make it the example. And that's what I feel like conservatives and Republicans do, is y'all target one example, one situation, and act like it's the whole community.
I would date a trans woman.
Well,
Yeah, no, this shit, like, it's just,
well,
it's fucking stupid. This entire argument is just cancer. And especially that lady. That
yeah,
lady,
you're surprised,
lady.
right?
Fuck her.
See, a lot of people,
So
a lot of
annoying.
people
God
don't
damn it.
know. I mean, does she have a vagina? I don't like.
That's a genital preference, not.
Disgusting to say genital preference. Please don't call it a genital preference. It's a sexual orientation.
Exactly. So when
I don't
you're saying-
prefer vagina. I don't like dick.
Calm the fuck down. What the fuck is her problem? Why did that offend her so bad?
Vagina. I don't like dick.
So
that's fine.
When you're saying sexual orientations,
problem?
you are referring to who you are attracted to.
Correct.
When you are saying that you do not have a preference for that genital portion, that is labeled as genital preference.
That's
So
your label. That's not my label.
Sorry, would you mind if I finish? Sorry. So trans women, what the question is that's gender. It doesn't matter whether they've gone through their procedures or not. If we're dating a trans woman, it shouldn't matter whether they have a vagina or a penis or anything.
So I should like convince myself.
This entire video is just this non-binary person just fucking destroying this lady here. Like, they just decimate her.
If I'm not.
I personally
feel like they're
would
being
date
attacked
a
for
trans
some
woman,
reason.
but I don't think it's transphobic not to want to. And because that doesn't define whether
Thanks for the
that
call,
trans woman is a woman or not, just someone else's preference. That trans women are women regardless of where they are at in their transition. I
Exactly,
100%
yeah.
believe that. But
If you identify
whether
as a
or
woman, you're a
not
woman.
someone is
That's how that shit
attracted to
works.
them because of that doesn't
That's it.
affect
That's
who
it.
they are. And for me personally, I am more attracted to the female energy, like presentation and being. For me, it's more about that than what they have down there. For me personally, but it's not like that for everyone.
I mean, again, more than likely, will I end up dating a trans woman in my life? Probably not, just because it's a very small, again, minority of people. But, like, would I be open to seeing what would happen? Sure, why not? I mean, I don't personally find an issue with that, right? I am a straight white male. I am as privileged in society as it gets, right? But at the end of the day, why does it matter? What if this is, she's a woman, if she identifies as a woman. So let's, again, let's see if I like her as a person. Let's see if we connect. Let's see if that works. Why the fuck does it matter?
Everybody, like,
Right.
and I think
Again,
that's
and if you don't like dating a trans woman, then don't, right? That's not my problem. Then don't. It's that simple.
okay. I don't think that's.
And I'm not one of those people that's going to take away the validity of how somebody experiences themselves.
Yeah,
So don't take away my experience.
As
How
long as
I
you're
see
not-
myself
yeah.
as a lesbian.
It's
That's what this
different-
means to me.
Yeah, it's different than someone saying, "Oh, that's not a real woman. I don't want to date."
I never said that.
Yeah, that's different. But someone just not
Kind of what you said.
not
whatever.
feeling attracted. I don't think that's a problem.
Trans women are trans women, and trans women can be many different
No, I don't think
at
it's
stages
nice.
in their
I don't
life.
think it's nice either to just say trans women are trans women instead
but
of.
they
women
are.
are women.
Well, they are,
If,
but
if,
they
if
are
a
also
if a trans
women.
woman is a woman, then I can be a trans woman as a woman.
No,
No, a
but
trans-
well,
you're taking- to me-
woman
to
is
me, you're ju-
an
to me-
umbrella term.
I don't
I'm sure
agree
you
with
can
that, though.
figure it
Well,
out.
trans
You wanna
is a
do that, then
category
go for it.
of women.
I don't
so
agree with that.
you could be a blonde woman, a trans woman, a pink-haired woman, and
so
when you
to me-
specifically say trans women are
So a
trans
woman.
women, you're kind of saying that they're not the same as us.
They're not. They're not. That's the whole purpose.
The whole purpose of transitioning is to turn into a woman. It's not to turn into a trans. What point are you trying to make here? It's stupid. It's so stupid.
Like non-binary people fall under the trans umbrella, so like I would also include dating non-binary people. Like I know we're thinking about trans women specifically, but like non-binary people are trans, and like they also fall under that umbrella. And like there's I feel like any like non-man dating a non-man, like we've now defined as being a lesbian.
Would you date a woman with a penis?
I think that personally I have a genital preference, but I
You
would
suck it, would you?
currently like I would say that I have a genital preference, but I would never.
I have a preference on how I like somebody, right? Fucking, I don't know what to tell you. That's still not a problem.
Like a very progressive and open-minded person, I wouldn't say that if I loved someone that I would rule them out for being trans.
I don't
Right.
like the fact that you used open-minded, but you're allowed to say that, of course. It's your
What do you
prerogative to say how you feel. But to me, open-minded comes across as me being closed-minded. And I don't think you can, I'm just saying, like, I'm not closed-minded because I have a sexual orientation that's monosexual.
Absolutely.
Thank you, appreciate that.
I just don't understand why We put restrictions. Why can a trans woman not be a woman? What is your problem? Why do these people get so fucking like upset with people just trying to be who they feel like they are? Why is that a problem? Let people be who they are. If I feel like I'm someone and I want to be someone, let me do that. Let me figure this shit out. Let me be who I want to be.
I agree, one is not better than the other, but we can all have our preferences, right? I don't agree that trans women are women. Trans women are trans women. Trans women are men who have suffered through gender dysphoria, who have transitioned into presenting as women or going through surgeries, taking hormones. That is perfectly fine. They're completely valid in who they are. But it's also okay for me to have a preference, meaning
trying to be a
I'm not
woman with
interested
an asterisk
in
next
male
to it.
anatomy.
The fuck
now,
do you
I
want?
have dated trans people before, trans men. That's great. I love that. But trans women, it doesn't do anything for me. That doesn't make me transphobic, which is why I say no. It's
Fine,
not
you're
that
not.
they're bad people. There's nothing wrong with them. They're completely valid individuals.
preference.
But I also
Fine.
don't have to agree that, number one, they're a woman, because they're not. And number two, I don't have to say that I'm attracted.
I think this is a stupid, like, middle ground piece, actually. Putting, I would date a trans woman is a fucking stupid thing to put up there. Because it's like, I mean, that's not the point of this conversation that they're trying to have, right? The point of the conversation that they're trying to have is, are trans women women? That's what Jubilee is trying to, like, present as the middle ground here without outright saying it. 100% that's what's happening. But, like, you know, because they gotta bring in anything political they can into the conversation. But, like, the stupid ass thing about this entire conversation is it's like, yeah, it's down to preference, right? Like, I'd be open to seeing what would happen if I was to try and date a trans woman. Why not? The fuck doesn't matter to me, right? But like, at the same time, it's just dumb. Like, my preference is probably not, right? I mean, I probably wouldn't end up dating a trans woman, but at the end of the day, like, maybe I would. I don't see a reason in not trying. But again, that's my preference. If you don't want to, then fucking don't. There's nothing wrong with that.
To them because I'm not.
Why do you say they're not women?
Because they're not.
Why though? If you could.
Because our definitions of woman are different.
Well, you could say they're not female, but they're a woman, because being a woman is just a gender, it's not biological.
It's not the sex of the person.
Yeah.
It's the gender identity.
Two
of the
separate
So
things.
here's where we have a disagreement, because I believe that sex and gender are the same thing. If you were born a man, you will always be a man. Now, if you want to transition to be a woman, that's awesome. You can be exactly who you want to be. That doesn't change your chromosomes. That doesn't change the hormones that your body naturally wants to produce. If you have to inject yourself with hormones to become something, you are not that thing.
No, you are. You just injected yourself with hormones to now become that thing. What the fuck is your problem, right? Like, I just don't get it. I really don't get it. Why do they, like, feel like if I change something into something else, it turns into that thing, right? Like, what the fuck is your problem here?
What about intersex people, humans?
So going right back to like the extremely small percentage, intersex people are completely valid.
But that's much more common than people realize, especially when you're a woman like myself that produces more testosterone
all lesbians
than most women. No, mine's no. No.
Which is even more
I, yes, especially athletes, just masculine women. There's women that suffer from PCOS, I think, saying it correctly. There's been women taken out of, that have medals taken away in the Olympics and things like that because their testosterone is higher. It's much more common that those things occur, like especially with intersex humans, than people realize. So I'm just wondering, how do you feel about that? Because you touched on a very small percentage earlier with the kids, right? So can we?
That's fair.
Sure.
Yeah. Can we just? I just want to know how you feel about that.
I have no issue with intersex individuals. Again, we're going back to our orientation and our preference. If I was attracted to someone who might be intersex, that's great. That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm not. Or maybe I've just never experienced someone like that before, and that's fine too. They're not invalid as humans. They're not invalid in their identity, but I don't have to change
trans women are for
my
some reason.
attraction and force an attraction just to help fulfill someone else.
No, it's not the attraction I was wondering about. It was if they need to take.
The problem has nothing to do with what your fucking preferences are. Quit making this shit about you, lady. If that's not the fucking point. What the hell? It's not about you. It's about you're saying that person is not a woman. The fuck is your right to do that?
Their body to be able to present as they're seen. How do you feel? Are you saying that they're not how they present because of that? And that's what I was asking.
That's a really interesting.
She hasn't said a fucking word yet, I don't think. Maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like she hasn't fucking said a single word. So you know what? So far, I have nothing to complain about.
Be able to present as they're seen. How do you feel? Are you saying that they're not how they present because of that? And that's what I was asking.
That's a really interesting question. In the case of someone being born intersex, which given that is not something that I have very deep knowledge on, and I'm going to go ahead and put that out there. I don't have, very extended knowledge on people who are intersex, but I don't see an issue with that. I really don't. Like, if you have to take hormones to present a certain way, have your voice go up, go down, grow body hair, not grow body hair, okay, then you are forcing a change upon yourself. And that's simply the reality of the situation.
Or just balancing out the body to be healthy.
Okay, so we could also put this, say, cis men who, as they age, start taking testosterone replacement therapy, TRT. That doesn't make them not men. That's just balancing their hormones. So yes, I can understand.
So then that that combats. Yeah. So that's what I'm asking you to think about when you think of the trans community as well. You get what I'm saying?
It's a really interesting thought. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I just that's all I wanted you to do is just consider something that's often missed.
Sure. In the case of intersex, absolutely.
Does she just solve transphobia? That's kind of how that felt. Because that was a fucking that's a good point. I've never even fucking thought of that. And I'm not transphobic, but so I haven't really needed to think about that. But that's a really good point. I'm going to use that shit now. That's a good point.
Absolutely. I can see your point. In the case of assigned female at birth, assigned male at birth, transitioning, that's a completely different ballgame.
No, it's not.
I didn't get to talk earlier, but I love women, I agree with you earlier of I guess genital preference, but I'm not limiting myself because if I meet a beautiful human I have a connection with, we'll figure it out. I don't know. That's just how I feel. And I don't know. I also just
good way to put
think that to assume that a trans woman is whether they have their parts or not, and if they use them in a traditional way is a little bit gross to just
that's not true
lead
either.
with that. No, I'm just saying to automatically assume, because you went to, are you gonna suck a dick? Are you gonna suck a dick? My trans women friends and the ones that I've dated don't want to show up that way in a sexual space. So correct. I think that's what I'm saying. I think it's gross to think about it like that.
I think that there is nuance to this conversation. I think I have the fundamental understanding that if I'm going to date a trans man, they are a trans man, which means they were born a female, which means they have female body parts, female hormones, female chromosomes. That doesn't make them any less of a person. Now, I can be polite if I like someone, if I vibe someone. I have no issue using your preferred pronouns. I have no issue addressing you how you wish to be addressed. But I also don't have to agree that men and women are the same thing. I also don't have to agree that a man who transitions to a woman is suddenly full force woman. No, he will always be what he was. Now, if I want to use she, her, cool. I can be respectful of that. So, but I'm not going to ignore basic science in order to tiptoe around people's feelings.
Basic science says that people can be whatever the fuck they want. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Whenever you are at birth, born, you are more likely than not going to produce, more estrogen or more testosterone or whatever, right? And that's our traditional, male to female, that's the traditional way of going about that. But at the same time though, are you fucking insane? You're once again trying to say that because now we're in a place in society where science has changed that. Straight up, science has changed that. Medical sciences have changed that. I can battle that, and I can literally just make it so that way I now have more testosterone in my body. Yes, I injected it into myself, or I took a pill, or whatever the fuck I did, right? So now I'm this fucking same. So why are we trying to make those people different? Why are we trying to exclude them? Why do you feel unsafe about that?
I have an interesting story to tell, and a lot of people don't know this about me, but I dated. You would say a trans person is who they say they are, no matter what their transition stage is, correct?
Absolutely.
So then I have dated a trans man in the past. Interestingly
While you
enough,
identified as
absolutely, yes.
So then did you see him as a woman?
No.
Okay.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry, yes. Not after the fact. I say she, not because I'm misgendering them, because otherwise I'd be missexualizing myself, missexual orientationing myself.
No, you're just misgendering them. Pretty sure it's how that works, actually. You're just attracting. Yeah, you were just misgendering them. That's all you were doing. Has nothing to do with your sexual orientation, whatever. Like, it's their gender that you're doing incorrectly on purpose and making a point to incorrectly say on purpose. The fuck?
But they presented as a female to me. They were female. They were fully intact as a female. They called themselves lesbians. They transitioned later on.
Oh, okay.
Technically, I did date a trans guy. Does that mean I'm bisexual?
No, I don't think
Absolutely
No,
not.
They didn't
Absolutely not. I'm sorry.
identify as that when they were.
So I'm bisexual then because I was attracted to a man?
No, they didn't identify as that when they dated you. So you're
But
taking
they
their
did.
experience.
They did, though.
You just said that they transitioned.
Not from my
later.
knowledge, but well, you're born trans, right? If that's the truth, you're born with gender dysphoria. So they always knew that they had gender dysphoria and always knew that they were internally a man, whatever.
You're just mixing so many things.
But he was saying that he was like a lesbian when you guys were together.
He told me he was a lesbian. He looked like her, right? Present as a woman.
Okay, so then you're like taking someone's journey and making it about you to be like, oh, I guess I'm bisexual now. I'm gonna do it.
That's what. No. But I agree with you then. So we're in agreement that I'm not bisexual.
You can be firm in your lesbian identity.
Yeah, you're not bisexual because they later transitioned. This isn't hard. Why are you talking about once again, why the fuck are you talking about this? Nobody bring this shit up. You just did. What is your problem, lady? What the fuck? She's an insane person.
So no matter who I sleep with,
No, I'm just saying, like, despite having dated someone who like transitioned like after you guys broke up, like you can still.
Somebody just yell at her and say, what do you identify as? Oh, I identify as a fucking lesbian woman. Okay, sweet. Then that's what you are. I don't give a shit.
Still be firm in your lesbian identity.
Because of the society and the media and everything, and people that are pushing us down, we don't realize that we're trans until way later on in life.
Regardless of how he identified, I was attracted to him because he was a woman.
Yeah,
he was female. So the point is, the whole prompt: would you date a trans woman? Not if they looked like a dude.
I don't understand how a lesbian can be conservative.
That's fine. Haha, so funny. Shut the fuck up.
I think that was a huge question that I really did have going into this because, like I said earlier, conservatism itself is keeping things the way that it is. Through the experiences that I have had, that my girlfriend has had, that we all have had. I don't like how it is right now. I would love to progress forward. Again, as a non-binary lesbian, only through the progression did I feel accepted. Did I feel safe? Like, did I, that's how I found my girlfriend, stuff like that, moving forward and progressing forward.
Yeah, the right has famously been always against the LGBT community and always, especially in the past, has always fought against equal marriage and everything. So it surprises me to see that there are gay people who identify as conservative. I think it's fine for people to have their political opinions that are not attached to their sexuality, of course. But at the same time, for me, it's hard to support a party that has always been historically against us.
Yeah. And like being conservative and like being Republican, I think are also two separate things. And like being conservative, like truly is about like, staying where you are or like keeping things similar. Whereas like progressives like want to progress and like move things forward. And like people are Republican for all kinds of reasons. But I think that it is interesting that people can be in the queer community and not be interested in progress and change, like especially as like so many conservatives have been so anti-LGBT for a very long time.
Yeah, I agree. I say the same. I think there's a difference between moderate and conservative and, just wanting to live your life a certain way, because I know a lot of, I would say, more moderate lesbians that don't want to partake in the prides and do things like that. They just want to live their life with their wife and their kids, and that's very different because nowadays conservative is combined now with Republican in my eyes. And so when you're a Republican lesbian.
Because the Republican Party is presenting conservative ideas. I mean, yeah, I don't know. The Liberal Party is presenting progressive ideas. Just how that works. I don't think there's they are by definition two different words. Don't get me wrong, but they both stand for a lot of the exact same political ideas, so I don't think there's a problem there.
You're against our community moving forward and progressing, and you're also aligning with the oppressor. And so that's why I have a hard time understanding queers being conservative or / Republican because you're aligning with the oppressor and not going against change in the positive direction for our community.
For sure, yeah. I get the impression that just because
why align with people who are directly like opposing the values that you yourself are like a part of? I mean, if you are an LGBTQ plus person, like straight up, you just are now following a group, like again, a political party that outright opposes your existence almost. You know, it's like, I just don't get it.
with certain parts of our community or certain parts of the left, then they go all the way to the other end of it, when really that's not really necessary, because you can disagree with people that are on your own side and have different opinions. You don't have to suddenly...
And I'm not saying you can't be a lesbian conservative, but like, you know, I think that it's okay to be like, I don't understand that, because in my brain, why would I support the party that is historically and to this day directly and objectively hated on me or on the group of people?
Yeah, let's be a conservative now.
Yeah, and like part of, I think, like what is so like amazing about being progressive and like being in a community of like very progressive people is that like you can have a difference of opinion. Like not everyone's gonna feel like as left leaning as I am, and like not maybe people are more left leaning than me. I don't know, maybe somewhere. But I think that like that's like what's so important, that like we're all like working towards like making sure that people are equal and like feeling supported and like can feel affirmed in their identity and their gender and their sexuality. And I think that conservatives are actively, I think, work against that. Like that's where it's confusing that people who are queer can be conservative.
100% she's correct.
What don't you have that you need to progress further to get besides acceptance? Because that may never come.
Equality.
But what's not equal?
I'm going to say queer in general. The community don't have protections in certain areas, like where you live. You can't adopt, or you can get fired on the basis of your sexuality. The things are in place to protect that, but if it's still happening often, then that's why we need to progress to make our life and our lifestyle a norm. So
school systems try to act like gay people don't exist, and they also try to act like it's a PragerU videos out there that act like gay people are like a fucking disease. Like, I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Discrimination. I mean, West Hollywood in LA is supposed to be a gay haven. And I, as a person that has hosted parties there and been a promoter there for 11 years and know the owners still face discrimination almost every single time I go there, because there's discrimination within our community. And so now I'm as a commissioner, I'm working on that, because we have to fight it even in this city. That
the problem is more so that there's discrimination and that there are people who are opposing other people, right? It's not that the laws outright explicitly say gay people have less rights. Again, they don't. But realistically speaking, you know, again, if I'm a gay person, am I going to have a harder time going through my life? Like, am I going to have a slightly more difficult time going through my life if I was gay, but everything else about me stayed identical, versus if I was me right now? Yeah, my life would probably be a little bit harder. And that shouldn't be how that works. Again, there's a chance that my life isn't harder, but more than likely my life is going to be a little bit harder. I've never been in a situation where I've felt oppressed or anything like that, because I am a straight white man, right? I'm lucky enough to be I was lucky enough that I was born this way, right? Like, that's basically what it boils down to. But like, there's no reason that we can't let people do what the fuck they want. Like, all this shit always boils down to the exact same fucking point.
Everyone thinks that everyone's accepted. So can you imagine that in LA, in West Hollywood, if that's going on, how it can be in other cities and towns and states for people that look like us?
Right. Well, I just don't see what laws, politically wise, would stop people from being discriminated. Like, people are that way. There's always going to be people who are racist, who are transphobic, homophobic. What laws, I guess, what rights do we not have? We can adopt.
Well, there are many countries where just being gay is punishable by death.
In other countries, of course. I was just referring to the United States, but yeah, I totally agree on that. Other countries, absolutely, they need to do something about that. But here, I just don't, any lesbian couple can get married, have a kid, adopt a kid, have all those
but
rights.
I'm saying that because you said
Yeah, but it is harder. It is objectively harder. It just is objectively harder to be a gay person or a lesbian person on this planet than it is to be a non-lesbian person on this planet. For the most part, it doesn't really fucking matter where you live. Like, either way, it is going to be a more difficult life. Once again, it's like there's just always laws and stuff being pushed that is so anti-LGBTQ. Like, I mean, again, it can't act like there isn't a reason to be pushing for more. There's always a reason, at least until, you know, again, until there isn't a single homophobic person on the planet left, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. Like, I just don't get it.
You still need to move forward. Why do you feel the need to progress? And I think it's because developed countries are leading the way in general for the whole
Well,
LGBT
acceptance
community.
has gone down now.
Thinking about when you say people are always going to be, transphobic, homophobic, that's why we want to progress, because hopefully one day, and even if it is 300 years from now, we don't want that to happen.
Of course.
So,
why is acceptance going down?
Yeah.
Acceptance is going down. It's statistically, the acceptance, straight people and anyone it's lowering. Why is that? If we're so progressive, why is it lowering? Because we're going too far over. We are now attacking children's and women's spaces.
I'm going to jump in right here.
I'm actually going to jump in. So you're telling me, right now you're trying to tell me that the reason that, again, gay people, LGBTQ people in general are being less accepted is because the group that is pushing for them to be accepted is pushing a little bit too hard? Or, hear me out, I have a little thought here, right? Maybe it's because we have a bunch of really homophobic, really, really, really annoying and stupid people that are running half of our government, that are pushing these ideas and trying to teach anti-gay, anti-LGBTQ anything in schools. Maybe it's just me. Maybe that's why you are having fucking troubles, right? Like, maybe that's why people are being less accepted. Maybe it's because we have PragerU videos that are outright they're outright homophobic. A lot of those things are, right? And it's like, maybe that's the reason, not the fact that people are pushing to be inclusive. What kind of fucking stupid ass knowledge is that?
Not just looking at social issues whenever we're talking about conservatism versus leftism or right versus left. Yeah, social issues are absolutely a part of it. But then we're also looking at, okay, how are we taxed? How is the government spending our money? How much of our tax dollars are going overseas? How are our schools being run? How are our children being taken care of? Do you have a nice library in your town that you can visit? All of that can be traced back to your political leaning. And I think it's very important to understand my sexuality has nothing to do with the way I think the government should spend our taxes.
I can understand a lesbian being a Republican. Yeah. I can understand a lesbian voting for a Republican. If that's your perspective on whatever else, and maybe that's it's your own prerogative who you want to vote for. It's not like we have all these choices. But I think that when we're talking about being progressive versus being conservative, literally you want progress or you want to conserve the past.
What needs to be progressed?
In
our community.
There's so much prejudice.
But no law is going to change that. Whether you're Republican or liberal, that's not going to, a law is not going to change that.
There are laws right now that are being put into place, such as, I will always lean back onto this example, the school system that I was just recently out of. I'm 18. The public school system, it basically teaches you that gay people either don't exist or they're just wrong. At least my experience in the public school system was kind of that way. Again, there was a lot of the people there were very accepting, 100%. They were. The majority of the people, I think, were. But the bigger thing is it's inside of, inside of my school system, my school experience, the content that we were actually taught, again, if I had gone through learning just all of that, I wouldn't even know gay people existed. And that's how much they suppress it. And it's okay, well, maybe we should figure that out. And that's something that should be handled legally. PragerU, right? That shit is insane. It's insane how horrible it is.
We think about how progressive movements have made us more comfortable in our identities in social spaces.
Okay, then there are movements that has nothing to do with politics.
Can I give you an example of the racial divide in this country, right? Laws were put into place so African Americans can vote and be equal humans, right? And do you not think that those protections put in place allowed African Americans to be more accepted as time went on?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes.
You say no?
No, I'm processing it.
Yes,
yeah,
I think
I'm
you're right.
thinking
But
that
I
thing.
I don't completely agree, though. I think saying
But
that,
there's still
that a
racist
race
people today, so that
right,
didn't fix it.
But they can't
It went
come
down.
for us. Yeah, it normalized and brought people together, and not to see the racial divide as inhumane, or you're not a human because you're African American. That changed. So what we're asking is for equality, so that us as humans are able to exist like everyone else, and that there's a equal ground here, like just respect. And that's what I'm saying is it's very necessary to put these protections in place so we can live like everyone else.
But we do live like everybody else. There's
You being able to say that is privilege.
Absolutely.
No, I'm not trying to come for you. It is.
People are homophobic to me too, but it doesn't affect my life. I don't let that.
Yeah,
I did say that.
No. It's a privilege to not understand other people's
how do you know I don't
lived experience.
understand?
Because you're asking me the questions.
Well, yours is different than hers, and hers, and hers,
That's
right?
exactly what my point was.
So
right?
how can you
I
tell
can't
me
move
I'm
to Florida
privileged? How can
and
you
feel safe?
How can you tell me I'm privileged? when
She's able to tell you that you're privileged because you're not accepting. Okay, you're sitting here and you're simply saying, again, well, there is no difference because I don't let it affect me. That's fine. That's great. Not everybody is as morally is just such a fucking concrete castle of a mental fortress that you have apparently. I don't know what to tell you. You're why do we not move towards acceptance? Why would we not do that? She even said she's had homophobic people in her life, but she doesn't let that affect her. That's fine. Can we still make it so that way those people are not homophobic? Why not make it so that way the people who aren't able to deal with that type of thing, right? People who have a harder time dealing with homophobia, who are homosexual, why don't we make it so that way their lives are a little bit easier because being homophobic is objectively wrong? What the fuck is your problem?
I show up.
Very differently than I
There's more Hispanic
wanted
people
to.
in Florida than there probably are in California, actually.
What does that have to do with me?
That's what you're talking about. Is that not what you're talking about? You're talking
No,
about
you
race
can
relations.
walk down the street in Florida and be cool.
Because I'm femme, because I'm not 100% femme. Where's the
I think
dividing
that we
line
should
we're
take a
talking
trip
about?
to Florida and see what it's really like. 'Cause
Yeah.
what you hear and
Oh,
what
I
you
host in
experience
Florida
is
all the time, but
okay. Then is
It's
anything
fine.
ever happen in Florida?
Those are very protected spaces that I'm in. And then when I do travel around, yes, I've gotten death threats. I've had to shut down events that I've done. I've had, people name me by telling me to pick out a coffin.
That's obviously not okay.
But then
Yeah, it's obviously not okay. So why are you sitting here and saying nothing needs to change? Let's change that. Why do we not work towards making things better for other humans? I am a human. Let's make things better for other humans, right? Even if I'm not somebody who has that experience, that doesn't mean that somebody else isn't having that experience. Why can't you fucking understand that? It's so easy.
Those people are in
obviously
power,
not okay.
is what we're kind of, sorry to cut you off, but those people are in power now.
Yeah.
Those people are deciding the future of our country. And that.
Democrats?
No, those people that are hateful, that are homophobic,
think
that are
that was
transphobic. Unfortunately, those people are becoming in power. We're not saying that these exact laws need to be put into place. We're saying now people that are following these people of authority and are really listening into it. And now these are the only thoughts that they're thinking of. There's no one in place of a power really right now that are pushing for the progression.
I'm not a conservative because I'm a lesbian. I'm not a lesbian because I'm a conservative. I'm a conservative because I agree with more than 51% of the conservative beliefs.
Amen.
I don't even agree with 100% of the conservative beliefs. I might even hold more liberal views on certain individual topics than maybe even some of you. It's simply race, sexual orientation, disabilities. None of that puts people in a liberal, conservative, or a middle box. And I think most of our disagreements today are simply just because of language. My version of woman, her version of woman, your version of women are all different. Our versions of conservatives and your versions of conservatives are completely
That's why I said it was important.
Then why is it okay to be my version of woman is different from your version of woman? You might see yourself as a woman. I don't see you as a woman. Fuck you. Don't do that. Why would you do that to people? Just let her be a woman. I don't give a shit how you define it. She wants to be one, just let her do it.
Yeah.
What does this word mean to us? What does woman
Exactly.
mean? What does conservatism mean? What does liberal
Yeah.
mean? Because by definition, by the old school definition, I am a liberal.
Yes.
I am pro freedom of speech. pro-equal rights, pro-capitalism,
Fine, but yeah, based on the old school, like, does she not believe that there was like a party switch or something? Is that what's happening here? Like, I don't know what point she's trying to make whenever she keeps saying that she is an old school liberal. Like, I still don't fucking get it.
pro-free markets. Like, that is a liberal.
Yeah, I think it's just the language is completely evolving, and would I agree with conservatives 20 years ago? Probably not.
Yeah, of course.
But
So that's
language,
progression right there,
fluidity,
too.
everything is just
It's
constantly moving.
Yeah, that's fine. So regardless, you're now not what liberalism is now. That's fine. Why the fuck why do you keep bringing it up? It doesn't change your views. It doesn't change how they feel. It doesn't change how you feel. So quit bringing it up like it matters. It doesn't. The fuck is your point? I used to be liberal too. So like, I'm actually in the right, and you guys should all, because I'm liberal or was liberal or whatever, all of you guys should also have that same opinion. That's not how that fucking works, and you know it. It's a non-point that you're just bringing up to bring up because you don't have shit else to talk about because you're stupid as fuck.
And we just have to live within our current reality. You can't compare any of us to conservatives 20 years ago, just like we can't compare you guys to liberals 20 years ago.
Pride should be taught in classrooms.
Join our Middle Ground Patreon to watch this exclusive prompt.
What the fuck is that?
Lesbians can use he, him pronouns.
Why not?
I think the reason why I stepped forward is because of the idea that pronouns equal gender. I think that's also why I kind of hesitated as well, because when you're saying use he, him pronouns, at first everyone assumes it's their gender, sexual orientation, everything. I think it goes back to my belief that pronouns do not equal your gender.
I know non-binary lesbians who go by any pronouns, and I think there's, I think that there's maybe you meet more non-binary lesbians who use they them pronouns or use she they pronouns, but I think that anyone who's non-binary can use any pronouns and be defined as a lesbian.
Thinking of you and thinking of my non-binary friends that, like you said, use all pronouns, and so that's when I realized that I agree.
Yeah.
I didn't step forward with the rest of my team just because my first
So cute. I love you.
just because my first thought was of when straight men call themselves lesbians, and I always thought that was so disrespectful and cringy, and that was my first thought. That's why I was like, oh no, straight away. But then when you were talking about non-binary people, I was like, oh yeah, that's true. There are non-binary people who also use he, him pronouns. At the same time, I still disagree a little bit, just because if pronouns don't equal gender, what's the point? Yeah. So
I feel you. I think to me it's a bigger conversation than just somebody's identity. If we're in this community trying to make the world understand us more and trying to actually be progressive, as you guys call it, why are we also being more confusing? Yep. The only thing that winds up doing is making yourself feel better.
We're not being confusing. We're just letting people be who they want to fucking be. God, it's so easy to understand. Like, if I want to, if I want to be something, whatever it is, let me be that fucking thing. Let me do my shit, and I'll let you do your own shit, If you want to fuck dudes, fuck dudes. If you want to fuck girls, right? If you want to be a girl, be a girl. If you want to be somewhere in between or whatever else the fuck you want to be it. Do it. Why the fuck is it your problem? You do what you want. And then just, again, put in the bare minimum effort of saying, oh, okay, like you want to be identified as, they, them, just say they, them then. Start using that as bare minimum. If you mess up, right, whatever, but just do it.
Yeah, but I think what you're saying with that is you feel validity within yourself. It doesn't matter about what other people think, what the outside community thinks. I think we should just be accepted of everyone, no matter what. So, even though we have different beliefs, we're still going to respect each other and understand that even though our identity, we feel validity within it, doesn't matter what other people think.
And I love that. I think that's absolutely the best way to go. I think it's strength within yourself and actual self-love and you can self-express the way you want. To let other people make you feel invalidated is the worst thing you can do.
The reason why I didn't step forward, and I actually struggle with this one, because I am all about freedom of speech. You are free to say whatever you want, to use whatever pronouns you want, to present how you want. I don't care. And so on one hand, yeah, a lesbian can use whatever pronouns they want because that's their right. That is protected in our Constitution as your freedom of speech. But on the other hand, I am not obligated to validate that, and I'm not In my opinion, a lesbian is a woman who loves another woman. I believe what I believe is a woman. Maybe not everyone here agrees what a woman is, but I believe that. So if I say a lesbian is a female or a woman who loves another female woman, then they're probably going by she, her pronouns, right? But then they also have their freedom of speech. So it's very middle, a little bit muddy for me on this one.
You can go by whatever you want. It shouldn't matter to other people what you go by. If you are a lesbian, then you are a lesbian. And me as a lesbian, I'm gonna support you. If you realize...
FYI, my YouTube live stream just got taken down, or got taken down a little while ago, it looks like. I'm reacting to this shit pretty fair and square, I'm pretty sure. Put in a pretty good amount of time. I don't think that the stream should be stopped whatsoever. I've put in quite a bit of input here, so whatever. You can do what you want with that, YouTube. Keep watching. I'm gonna finish this shit first.
You no matter what pronouns you go by, because I have been in that case where I wasn't educated on what I could be. I've gone through everything under the sun. I was a gender fluid lesbian at one point. I did use he, him pronouns at one point. But again, through my self-identity, I've discovered who I am. And I think by knocking down people's journey and discovery is exactly what saying people who use he, him pronouns cannot be a lesbian, because in their own self-identity, they see themselves as getting to that journey and they're going through things that we don't understand.
I think that we can both support, respect, and love individuals who are going through their journeys, but also be diligent to protect spaces. That's why we have TQIA+. You know what I'm saying? That is why our umbrella has expanded to be what it is, so that we can both protect our spaces, but also accept, love, and encourage and support individuals who are not quite sure what they are quite yet. And that's okay too. You can do both.
Do you feel like non-binary people are encroaching on lesbian spaces? Like, is that something that you feel like is a real social issue, or?
Depends on what side of the non-binary spectrum they're on, I think.
That's what I was gonna say.
What do you mean by side? Because non-binary itself means you do not have a binary. You are not on either side.
But you still have a sex.
Make it make sense. Let's how about all of us together? The middle ground is let's make it make sense before we push everyone else to accept it.
Well, we always have work to do.
Yes.
Right. But
no matter what.
We all showed up.
Right.
We all showed up here.
We all showed up here.
We showed up.
It's not just like saying you're going to dismiss someone just because you don't understand. That's part of the work that we have to do.
But you guys
that's why I was trying, especially with you earlier.
We don't. So you guys have to figure it out. We don't. We want it to stay the same.
Right, but right now,
not our responsibility.
They're trying to undo everything that we did to have equality, and so
they're not taking away marriage. So
that's on the list.
It's okay.
It's on the list.
We could talk, like you said, we will talk about the bills after.
Just like interracial marriage is on the list.
There's no bill out there that is going to take away gay marriage, right?
But I'm saying you not being able to understand that is privilege, and that's why I was trying to get with you earlier.
I understand it. I'm very versed in laws and bills.
To reverse
it's not privilege.
Marriage equality, to reverse interracial marriage protection is on their list.
She does use the word privilege too much, which undermines her argument by a lot. She needs to not use that word as much. She's right. Like, she is correct. But the way that she's using it is making her argument objectively worse, because continuing to point somebody out and say that their privilege is just only going to antagonize them more and isn't going to actually make any other points other than to make them more upset with you and just to make things not go any further in the conversation. So it's just she's right, but she's almost using it as a jab every time she says it.
Sure, okay.
That they would like to undo.
Okay.
I think we can all agree that that's wrong. Yeah.
Right, of course.
Everybody agrees with that.
But the thing is, that's not happening. That's not actually happening.
Okay, so certain things like abolishing affirmative action is a part of that process. So just because you weren't affected by it doesn't mean you're not affected by it.
It's not about me. I don't care what. I don't know why it's.
But that's why I'm trying to get you to see.
I'm not a feelings person. I don't like laws change and all that based on feelings. I'm a facts
I'm a logical person too. But you don't understand. What you're not understanding is being able to have your frame of mind is a privilege. Period.
You can have the frame of mind too.
You're not thinking about anybody else that does not have the same privilege, that can walk like you walk, that has access like you have access.
How do you know that?
Not everybody knows.
How do you know that?
Because of the way
you don't know
think and
what
the way
I
you're
do. You
talking.
don't know anything about me.
I don't have to. It's the way
Okay,
you're
so
speaking
you
in your
can
way
call
that you're
me
able to
privileged.
not
You can put a label on me when you
include
know
somebody
nothing
else's
about me.
experiences.
I
Because
include everybody's experience. I just said that
Absolutely,
multiple times.
you're not. When you
You're
think
thinking
of
about
the way you
yourself
think.
and your experience. That's privilege.
Exactly, I have
That's
to. I
privilege.
speak for a huge part
do
of our
I.
community.
So do I.
Okay.
So do I.
I don't think so when you're trying to say that we have enough protections and enough equality where we are.
I just said
no, you're
what,
not talking
I
about.
said
you're
what
speaking
don't
for all
we
of
have?
us.
I'm asking what don't we have?
Do you think that we do not deserve all the same rights as everyone else, and that we should not keep progressing to get that?
We have all the same rights as everyone else.
And that's privilege.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
But people not in the community
That's
also don't
literally
have
the point
rights.
I've been trying to make.
But people
You said
not
that
in the
earlier.
community
and to
actually,
think that is privilege because not
Well, then tell
everybody
me
gets
what
to
rights
live this.
She like, okay, you can't just say that and then just say, yeah, that's privilege. I hate to be that way, right? Again, she's 100% in the right here for the most part, but the way that she's arguing about this is completely wrong. Find an example. She, for whatever reason, will not pull up an example. I fucking got him. Right? I'll go back to the PragerU thing 1,000 times over. That shit is so insanely mind-bogglingly whack that like I don't even know what the fuck to do about it. You know, like it's insane to me that that it was even made, right? But like there's so much anti-LGBTQ anything and all of that, and it's like, come on, you know? That's more what the point is. It's not that, you know, again, in law it says outright like, you know, gay people bad and can't vote and plus L ratio, you know, like it doesn't say that shit in law. You're right. No fucking like no duh. Yeah. Or like legally you could do whatever the fuck you want. That's not the problem. The problem isn't that it, you know, again, outright says these things in law. The problem is so much wider than that. And I don't get why she doesn't fucking understand that. Like, she's completely right. It is privilege because you're not understanding that there are hundreds of thousands of people who are in a similar position as you who are going under worse conditions because of the system that they're in and because of, you know, again, the way that the laws have been written and the way that they're going to continue to be written and like how they were, you know, and just the amount of prejudice that those people will face. She's completely disregarding that, right? This lady right here is completely disregarding everything because her original viewpoint is, yeah, we have all the things. And it's like, yes, you do have all the things, but no, you really don't to an extent. Just because you feel like you in your life have never encountered something bad or never encountered like some actual real life problem with any of that doesn't mean that there aren't hundreds of like tens of hundreds of thousands of other people who are like experiencing that problem. So then why are you fighting like it isn't a problem? It's a problem. It just simply is.
Same
Tell
way
me
as
what
you.
rights we don't have, what laws that we don't have.
Girl, I'm gonna send you.
No, I
so
want to
much.
know.
No, say it now. Say it
Saying, girl, I'm going to send you so much doesn't help at all.
now.
No,
If you're going to sit here
What
and
rights?
tell us that we're missing rights, that we are not
already
allowed
said
to
that.
What
exist.
do
No,
gay and
tell
trans
us.
rights? Tell me.
Some families, first of all, marriages, gay marriages in certain states are not. They do not have the same benefits. I already shared that with you earlier about
Yep, okay, there
gay
you
families
go.
being able
Sweet.
to adopt. I
That's
already
also
shared that
with
with you
straight
earlier.
families,
Okay, gay families not being able to be a part of churches. I said that. There's so many things.
But that also happens to straight people too. Some certain straight people get married and they're not allowed to have certain benefits. That happens to, that's not a gay specific.
Yeah, but it's not because they're straight. That's the difference. She's just brought up another problem that also needs to be solved. Why are those people who aren't able to adopt or whatever, like, why can't they adopt either? Right, let's fix. Instead of just being like, oh, okay, there's two problems here, so we might as well ignore them because that's too many. Let's look at both of these issues and let's say, okay, then what's the problem here? Let's fix it, right? Let's make everybody happy. I'm all for making everybody happy, but like, Jesus Christ, like this is such a stupid fucking perspective to have.
Thing. What rights do you, are you able to get married in this country? Are you able to adopt a child? Are you able to do what you want to do and make content on the internet?
I will have.
And other people are
I'm
not,
not
but
gonna
that's not a
have-
community issue.
I'm not going to have the same.
Yeah, but whenever it happens way more commonly among, you know, the LGBTQ community and they're not able to adopt as often or whatever else it is, right? Whatever the specific problem is, it's happening more often in the LGBTQ community for a reason, right? And it's not happening more often than any other really, specifically because they are part of, you know, again, they're lesbian or whatever it is. And it's like, let's fix that problem, you know? Why are we just ignoring it?
Journey if I wanted to adopt me myself, I'm not going to have the same journey as a straight couple trying to adopt.
Of course not, but nobody else, that same straight person may not have the same journey as another straight person.
But they don't have all the same biases lined up against them.
There's no law that you can't do it, though. There's no law that you can do it. What's the bias?
Protections in place, then they cannot.
But it doesn't fucking have anything to do with the law that says that you can't do it. It has nothing to do with the law that says that you can't do it. It's because there is no law that is protecting against somebody doing it. It's not because the law says lesbian people will have a harder time getting kids. It's not because of that. It's because lesbian people do now have a harder time in getting kids because of, again, just the discrimination across the board, right? Because of discrimination just in America as a whole. As you were saying, it is a rising issue, continuing to rise. So let's keep talking about it. Why would we not make a law that says, oh, we can ensure that they have the same thing now, or else it is now punishable, right? If they don't have the same process or the same, at least the same easiness, right? Like, it's just frustrating. Why does it have to, again, because your situation and where you're at in life is a good spot and you've done everything good, everybody else is also okay. And that's not how that shit works. And you know it.
People don't like it. Okay, that's one thing. There's no law that's going to change
you don't be listening.
Not for real, though.
Gay men are more socially accepted than lesbians.
Bye, guys.
Gay men are more socially accepted than lesbians?
I definitely agree with this. First off, there's hardly any spaces for lesbian only. Welcome.
Sorry.
No, welcome. I'm happy
I
to
thought of
join.
something.
Also, when you see two gay men out in the street holding hands, kissing, there's not a woman that's going to be like, ooh, I'm going to get in between that and I'm going to, but when it's the lesbian, that's what men do to us. So, no, that is less socially acceptable. If anything, a woman's like, oh, a gay man, let's be best friends. Let me meet your partner, where guys are like, I want to be your friend for ulterior motives.
Back to the fetishization.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's what we face. So that's a social in society. Also, with just spaces, there's like, at least where I'm from, there's like 10 bars on a street. They're all gay bars, which lesbians can go to, but there's one small little bar that's like lesbian only. It's like, I don't know. It's just, yeah. Absolutely. How do you guys feel?
I agree with it. What you just said.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, and the thought that I had when I was back there is that lesbians are more accepted, in my experience, by people that are not on the left, and gay men are more accepted by people that are on the left. And I think it has to do with...
Gay men are more... So conservatives are okay with lesbians, but liberals aren't, is what you're trying to say? I mean, okay, if we're really going to get into that, she isn't realizing is because there is a very... think about how masculinity is, perceived whenever it comes to the conservative Republican side, right? Men are supposed to be men who, I guess, only like pussy, and penises are unacceptable to like, right? And it's like there's a super heavy masculine, again, gender role associated with men that is also associated with women. I'm not saying it isn't. But, again, a girl liking another girl because she's pretty and that type of thing is something that is obviously going to be a little bit more accepted by conservatives than it is going to be by liberals. No shit. But either way, liberals are still going to be more accepting of lesbians and gay people and all that. It should be. I mean, again, let people be who they are. Again, this is an hour-long video about a conversation that simply boils down to let people do what they want to do and let people be who they want to be.
Reversal, trying to think of the word. The whole reversal of I can't think of the word. Give me a minute. Go to somebody else. It'll come to me. Give me a minute, because I was trying to think of how to say it over there too.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. I think going away from politics and going away from liberal and conservative ideas, lesbians are fetishized. They are. Their rights are not being as spoken about as gay men. Because yes, gay men have had it harder in the past. I will say that. Gay men have gone through a lot worse than the lesbian community has. But because of that reason, we've progressed so much in the gay, for gay men. The progression for lesbians haven't quite gotten there. And I think that's what we're trying to do, is get to that point where we can have the same progressions that gay men did have.
I think the basic idea is, again, there's so many different gay bars out there and that type of thing. Let's have a lesbian bar too, right? Let's throw those into the mix. Let's do everything for everybody, so that way everybody has places where they feel safe. Let people do what they want to do. Like I said, this is an hour-long video that boils down to, let's get everybody to an equal spot where people are people, and let's let people do what they want to do, because people are people, and we should all respect the fact that they can do what they want, like that's just how shit works. I don't know how else to put this.
I think that's a fantastic point. And I was going to say feminism, like,
oh yeah.
And I think it says a lot that you call yourself a non-man. And I don't think I've ever met a man that called himself a non-woman. And I think that's a really important thing to note that's going on one side of the aisle with lesbians, but not with gay men. And I think that, to me, it just shows that there's a lot of misogyny still on coming from the left, in my opinion.
True. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually a really good point.
I think me as a human, as an individual, I feel like everyone has, especially in our community, and the LGBTQIA plus community, has had experiences and like negative experiences and discriminations, all of that. But with me as part of what I do for a living, being in the political space, I see that specifically cis white gay male have it a lot easier than everyone else, as far as
so
ownership,
white gay men, you have it a lot easier
career,
than like a black
finances,
gay man, or even
access,
a black
in America,
lesbian woman,
in general,
whatever,
and so
right?
and that's what I see, and that's what I was talking about earlier with the things that I'm fighting for. I'm fighting for space, because we don't have that. You mentioned a small bar.
Yeah, wow.
But that's where I'm coming from as well, where I say it's important for lesbians to have their own spaces and to know what a woman is and to know what a lesbian is, because we have so few of those spaces already, and to open it up to everybody, that everybody's queer now. Where's my community?
Right. And as a person that tries to create space for people, I often have to fight battles of them wanting to give us nights that are like the off nights, not the popular nights, because they think us as lesbians don't make enough money to, for that space for that night. And oftentimes I'm finding that my bar percentage or whatever has to be much higher in order to have that space. So then, as a person that tries to create space, I'm finding it very difficult for us to have space, especially in the community of where it's primarily white, cis, gay male.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that's specifically the gay bars versus lesbian bars argument is a really good spot there, where it's like, or not really good, like a really good point there. I mean, because it's like, socially speaking, like I think lesbians are super over sexualized. I think gay men in a lot of ways are too, but like I think that, again, being lesbian specifically is over sexualized by men at large, right? And again, it's just that I think that there isn't a group of people who are like, oh yeah, lesbians are okay, or like gay men are okay, but lesbians aren't. Like I don't think there's very many people, if any people, that draw the line at, again, lesbians. I don't think that's a thing. But with that being said, there still is a lack of social spaces for lesbians that gay men do have, and I think that's a problem. There should be more. Why not?
This is
why
kind of
not
a
include
very
more?
gray area question.
Always.
I think in media, like movies and TV shows, men definitely have it better. There's a lot more gay male movies, whereas I just had this conversation.
Yeah, there's not very many lesbian characters.
Is that there are. They usually end up being very sad, and either they break up or one dies, or they go back.
Yes,
and they're all depressing, and there's
maybe y'all gotta make the movies.
Yeah, there's no happy ending.
I'll buy it.
But like lesbians in public spaces, I feel have it better because we're kind of very masculine forward. Gay men are not for the most part, seen as not very masculine. So they tend to get bullied more if they're not.
Which is also a misogyny thing.
Yeah, exactly. Even if they're not gay, if you're just a more effeminate man, it's going to be a harder time. Whereas
Yeah, and I think that's what I don't think necessarily that gay men are more socially accepted than lesbians. I don't think that's outright what is happening, right? More what's happening is you're seeing stuff again, there's different areas that need to be improved. And I think no matter what, we should be moving towards improving those areas for specific groups of people. Why would we not be trying our best to make people people happier? Am I a conservative lesbian or a liberal gay? I like to think of myself as a liberal gay. No, I'm somebody who is a little bit more liberal, but
Very masculine. This is probably my most feminine outfit I have, and it's fine. I'm not really bullied for it. I mean, in school, sure, but not in real life. So I think gay men have it better in TV and media, and lesbians have it
thanks
better.
for the follow.
From my point of view in
Societally.
real life, yeah.
And I hate to, say this again, but again, that is a privilege. I personally, being a masculine presented, I've come.
See, this is what I was talking about. So like they've had this argument, this whole video, where they've said the word privileged like a ton. The liberal side specifically has been calling the conservative side super privileged, like this entire video, and it's just not a good way to make an argument, because all it does is it just antagonizes them, right? Like they're right, because they have a privileged point of view. 100% of these conservative lesbians do have a privileged point of view, because they have been talking in this video about how they don't have, or how they haven't encountered as much, issues with being discriminated against and that type of thing. But with that being said, like, I don't think that means anything really, because at the end of the day, yeah, you haven't been discriminated against. That doesn't mean that there isn't tens of hundreds of thousands of people who are. Just because your experience is good doesn't mean that everybody's experience is good, right? I'm super happy that you've had this amazing experience being a lesbian and haven't had all these problems. That's insane. That's crazy. That's so cool. But why does that mean that there aren't problems out there? Why does that mean that other people aren't struggling? Like, why are you dismissing those people because you're having it all right?
Confident in myself, but I hate it. I hate having to go out and be spit on and be, yelled at from a window because I am masculine presenting. The other day on my birthday, I was getting my free pancakes at IHOP, and this man came up to me, called me these words that I don't like. Me being masculine presenting has even made it worse for me. But I do understand what you were saying by that. Me personally, I don't have that sort of privilege, which I definitely wish I did.
It's definitely just my lived experience. I've never been bullied for it, but that doesn't make yours any less valid. I mean, and I'm definitely really sorry that happened. That should not happen, period.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. I'm sure we all.
She is the first one who has recognized somebody else's experience ever in this entire, out of all of the conservatives that are on that side, there's 4 of them, right? She is the only one who has ever actually recognized and said, I am, again, it is bad that has happened to you. Instead of being yeah, well, I haven't had problems. God, that's good to see.
I think that generally speaking, it is more difficult for men to be accepted socially in the real world for being gay, especially if you have a man who is very effeminate, very maybe just not your typical what people perceive to be masculine. I think that generally speaking, it is more difficult for men to be accepted socially in the real world for being gay, especially if you have a man who is very effeminate, very maybe just not your typical what people perceive to be masculine. Maybe he doesn't align with that. And I think that he gets a lot tougher from other men than maybe we do from women. I'm always been very masculine presenting. Nobody cares if a girl wears guys' clothing. But everyone has an issue whenever a guy puts on girls' clothing. Mm-hmm. And I think that if we just simplify it to that level, we can see where society's acceptance is at. It's not an issue for me to cut my hair short. And I used to wear a mohawk.
Again, the big thing is it's at the end of the day, again, I think there are certain areas, and no matter what, everybody's so divided on issues. I mean, even I get fucking pissed at shit. But the big thing here is we just need to move towards, again, being inclusive in general, right? Why are we not just moving towards being inclusive regardless of who has it better than who else? Why don't we put everybody at the same standard? Why don't we get everybody up to the point where they are all feeling the same? I mean, again, gay men might be more socially accepted than lesbian women. I don't know. Again, if they are, then that's not good. We should make them all accepted regardless. There's no point in arguing about this in general. Push towards acceptance across the board.
Mohawk, wear dudes' clothing all the time. Nobody cares. But then you put a guy in the same situation where he's wearing maybe some leggings and a crop top, or, then all of a sudden people are looking at him a certain kind of way that they don't necessarily look at me. And maybe that's just my lived experience where I'm at. Maybe that's my certain community. But from my perception, I think that guys actually have it a lot harder than we do.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's because of misogyny, because there's this expectation of men to be so butch, so masculine, that when they don't live up to
right, if you ask any super conservative, right, like if they're okay with having like, you know, a gay child, like they're, you know, my son ain't gay, like that type of thing, like I ain't gonna have no gay son, that you don't ever hear them talking about having like a lesbian daughter, right? So it's like outright speaking, the super hardcore conservative viewpoint is already, my son ain't gonna be gay. You know, they're already a little bit more accepting of, you know, a possible daughter being lesbian. But regardless, we should just be accepting of all of it. You know, it should all be accepted.
This expectation, they're judged really harshly.
Yeah, I think that, like, I mean, I think I was agreeing with what you guys were saying earlier, especially from like a social perspective. Like, I think lesbians, like, we're so few and far between. We have like barely any social spaces, barely any bars. Like, especially from like a social, like meeting other lesbians in the real world is like, we definitely, like, that is, it's shrinking like every single day. But I do think that like, the only reason I didn't step forward is I think that it all really goes back to, like you were saying, misogyny and like patriarchy. Like, gay men, I think, are thought of as being like aligned more with women, and I think we are somewhat more aligned with men because we're attracted to women or non-men. And I think it all goes back to like patriarchy and misogyny. And I think that like that hurts all of us. It hurts gay men. It hurts lesbians. I think that, like, not to erase, I think, like you guys were both saying, like being masculine and being butch and like identifying, and lesbians used to have to dress that way to identify each other and like see each other in the real world. So like I don't want to erase like how hard it is to be like visibly queer. But I think that patriarchy harms us all. It harms gay men.
That's asking too much, though. People will literally find anything to not accept certain groups' culture. Yeah, I mean, even if you look at stuff like the fucking like Israel, Palestine, like Hamas shit that's going on right now, it's like, you know, again, no matter what way that you look at it, there's a certain group of people who are being oppressed by another group of people. It is how it is, right? That regardless of if the other group of people is also doing bad things, they are. But like, no matter what you're doing, there's still people that are oppressing other people. And that's, you know, the root of the problem. It should never be asking too much. It's crazy. I mean, again, there is an alternate, there's so many different universes where white people are the suppressed people, right? Like, we just are, you know, again, we just don't live in one of those. I'm lucky for that because I've lived a privileged life, but it's like, you know, what the fuck? Like, everybody, again, I just don't see a point in, you know, getting up, because earlier too, they were talking about how LGBT should be different or separated. Like, again, specifically lesbian, bisexual, gay should be separated from like trans and asexual and all that. And it's like, I mean, why? Let's just accept everybody as a big group. Let's let people be people. Like, I've probably said that over 20 times throughout this hour-long thing. But again, just let people be people. That's how this shit works. Like, let people be happy. Anything that moves towards more people in the world being happier with their lives is objectively a good thing. And that's, you know, I don't think that's an insane thing to say. And there's no point in fighting against any of that.
Lesbians, it harms all queer people because we have to align ourselves like within patriarchy to like be safe. And I think that, you know, maybe we're non-threatening to men in some ways because we all like women, or, you know, but gay men are not non-threatening because they're not liking women or whatever, but it's all harmful because it's patriarchy.
Their background music was going and I thought I had an alarm going off in the background. Can you stop being gay? What the fuck? That's not how that shit works. I kind of want to see that, but I think I'm just gonna get upset if I try.